Hi friends, how are you? I'm Nicole and this is Crimes with Cole. So hello, how are you guys doing today? I hope you all are having a wonderful day. I hope you've had a wonderful week and are ready for the weekend and another crazy crime story. Now, I want you to imagine discovering that the person you loved, trusted, and leaned on for years never existed. The once loving, caring, sacred relationship you thought you had was really just a relationship of betrayal, lies, and manipulation. That's exactly what Renae had experienced in her toxic relationship she could not get out of. Renae was born on October 15th, 1992 in New South Wales, Australia. When she was only 2 years old, her parents had split and she lived primarily with her mother. Her mother ended up meeting a man named Mark who she fell in love with and ended up marrying him in 2000. And the two of them welcomed 3 more kids, Jake, Luke, and Monique. And Renae actually ended up adopting Mark's last name. So Mark was truly a blessing for Renae and her mother, and they became a happy family of 6. They lived in the suburbs right outside Sydney, and Renae truly enjoyed being a big sister to her younger siblings. In 2005, she entered her first year of high school and attended an all-girls school called Mount St. Bernadette's. Here is where she met her best friend, who is named Camelia Zidane. And I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the two of them had formed a very close friendship. They were glued at the hip with one another. Wherever Renae was, Camille was. And wherever Camille was, Renae was. They were absolutely best friends. Now, before Camelia, Renae was a stereotypic good kid. Good grades, good manners, good behaviors, good attitude. She was just a good kid. After Camelia started coming around, Renae all of a sudden decided she wanted to start smoking. She wanted to skip class, which caused her grades to slip. And she was just overall the opposite of who she once was, which I think every kid goes through those weird, awkward years, figuring out who they are as a teenager. But Renae's family felt this wasn't the case. They felt like Renae changed right as Camelia came around, making her the reason that Renae had changed, and they weren't completely wrong. Renae eventually started confiding in her cousin Stephanie and told her how Camelia was a good person. She just was not nice. She was overbearing. She got mad at Renae for everything. Anytime Renae wanted to hang out with another friend, Camelia got upset. She even got upset because Renae started dating this guy. She always needed to know where Renae was. She honestly reminds me of a controlling, obsessive, crazy boyfriend or girlfriend, except she was the best friend. And not only did Camelia just get mad at Renae, she started to hit her too. Her best friend would hit her anytime she found out that Renae was hanging out with another friend. She was extremely possessive and controlling over Renae. And as Renae was confining in her cousin Stephanie, she was showing her the bruises that Camelia had left on her. So naturally, Stephanie told Renae, you need to get away from her. Don't be friends with her. People like that, they don't change. It only gets worse. But for whatever reason, Renae decided to ignore that advice, and the two remained best friends for the next couple of years. And of course, the possessiveness got worse. Renae could not catch a break from Camelia. She would text and call her nonstop. If she wasn't physically hanging out with Renae, then she was calling or texting her so that Renae could not give anyone an ounce of attention except for Camelia. And if Renae didn't answer, Camelia would hunt her down and follow her. No matter where Renae went, Camelia always seemed to be there. And it wasn't even like she tried to play it off like she was just in the area. She just full on stalked Renae wherever she went, and she made sure that she made Renae feel like she was trapped. And Renae did feel trapped by her jealous, crazy best friend. Now, Renae also had confided in her cousin Stephanie how Camelia at one point tried to kiss her. more than one time. And mind you, both of these girls are straight, or at least were under the impression that they were when they had started the friendship. But Camelia was not holding back any of her manipulation tactics. So she tried to seduce and persuade Renae into being in a full-on relationship with her. Like, can you imagine being in a relationship with her? My God, talk about some ups and downs. So as Stephanie is learning about how just possessive Camelia really is over Renae and how controlling she is, she starts getting concerned and gets this strong gut feeling that she needs to tell her Aunt Teresa, Renae's mom. And sometimes it's good to get an adult involved. They tend to know different paths to take to handle situations. When Teresa was first told about this situation, she decided to confront Renae. She wanted to know what was going on. Like, why is your best friend trying to kiss you? Why is she stalking you? Getting mad at you all the time? Like, what's really going on between you two? And this is when Renae told her mom that she truly felt she could not escape Camelia. That she felt no matter what, Camelia was always there. She never had a moment to herself, and the friendship between the two was toxic. Teresa had gone to her husband, Mark, and told him the situation, and the two of them had devised this plan to get space between Camelia and Renae. They figured if they were to set up a meeting with school counselors and Camelia's parents, that should give Renae and Camelia enough distance to take a small breather. Maybe help Camelia realize she's getting too obsessed and give Renae a moment to function without being stalked. But it did not work. It's not really said if the school or Camelia's parents really did anything, but we do know that the two girls remained friends and their friendship did not change. The behavior did not change. And this was concerning to Renae's parents. They saw just how isolated their daughter was becoming and how drawn away Camelia had gotten her from her family and other friends. So they decided to take Renae's phone away so that when she was home, she couldn't talk to Camelia. And it wasn't to punish Renae because she didn't do anything wrong, but it was to give her space from Camelia so that she could be her own person. But Camelia wasn't having this. So she decided to go out and purchase Renae a phone, a secret phone, so that the two of them could still talk all the time. And this went on for a couple more months until something clicked one day for Renae. She wasn't happy with her and Camelia's friendship any longer. She thought it was toxic, manipulative, and just downright unhealthy. So she took it upon herself to start pushing back from Camelia and put some distance between the two of them. She wanted to be her own person, not Camelia's shadow or little puppy dog. So in 2009, Renae decided to transfer schools and start attending a cosmetology school so that she could become a cosmetologist. She always wanted to do hair and decided to go after it, which was great, not only for Renae herself, but for her family and friends around her. They loved seeing her take control of her life and chase something she wanted to do. It absolutely gave her the peace and the calmness in her life she didn't realize she was missing. She wasn't seeing Camelia every day anymore, and before they realized it, Renae started to get back to herself. And for months, Renae's family and friends just saw this glow she once had come back. Until one day, at cosmetology school, they had a new student enter into the program. This new student was Camelia. She had transferred into the cosmetology program that Renae was in. And before she knew it, Renae had fallen victim to Camelia and her controlling ways. All that progress she had made just slowly slipped away. She started pulling away from her friends and family again and was under her control. But Renae noticed that this was happening. She saw herself falling back into her old habits and managed to leave a little bit of distance between the two of them. So she wouldn't answer every phone call. She wouldn't text back right away. They weren't hanging out every day together. She had just put some distance between the two. Now, this healthy distance that Renae had created was also giving her the confidence that was long overdue. And when Camelia had gone on vacation with her family, Renae decided to text her and tell her, Camelia, I'm done for good with our friendship. When you come home, please do not contact me. Renae had purposely waited for Camelia to go on vacation to send this so that she didn't have to deal with her retaliating. Lord knows she would probably drive to her house and kick in the door. And while she was gone, she couldn't do that. And it allowed her to have a few days to let it all process. It can be a hard thing to accept for some people. Some people don't like accepting certain information. And Camelia was certainly one of those people. This breakup of their friendship catapulted her jealousy to an all new level. She followed Renae everywhere. She showed up anywhere. Anywhere that Renae was, Camelia just showed up there. There was one time when Renae and her mother were at the library, and of course, Camelia showed up, and just the look on her face, she was extremely angry and filled with rage. She had just walked up to Renae and shouted at her, as long as you refuse to answer my calls, I will continue to follow you. And something about this comment really made Renae start to think that Camelia might just truly be a danger to her. And Renae didn't want to hurt Camelia. She didn't want to get the police involved. She didn't hate her, but she wanted her to be her own person. She wanted to have a life that consisted of something other than just Camelia. So she decided that maybe if she just slowly backs away from the situation, that it would prevent Camelia from jumping off the ledge and being irrational and freaking out. She wasn't trying to have her lash out. She just wanted her to stop. She figured nice and slow and easy was the way to go about it. She started to change her work schedule, took different routes to places, tried not to have a routine. She even invited Camelia to a cafe so that she could tell her in person that she didn't want this anymore. She wasn't happy with their friendship. She had made sure to make it a public place in hopes that Camelia wouldn't freak out, and had even brought her mom along for support. Her and Camelia had met at the cafe, and after she told Camelia the news, she just freaked out, as we are all expecting. But she just did not want to accept the fact that Renae didn't want this friendship anymore. She even jumped up and had grabbed Renae at one point and told her repeatedly, you don't mean it. You don't mean this. And at that point, Teresa had stepped in, grabbed Renae, and started acting like a shield to protect her. And she was guiding her to the car. The entire time, Camelia is following them, shouting at them how Renae doesn't mean this. She knows this isn't what Renae wants. She needs to take it back. Take it back now. And once the two had gotten into the car and started driving home, Camelia's just nonstop, texting and calling Renae. She was relentless. She was not accepting no for an answer. This went on until spring 2011, and at that time, Camelia started to naturally fall back herself. She had ended up meeting a guy at a nightclub, so her attention now had somewhere else to go besides for Renae. This guy's name was Braden. He was in his early 20s and worked in construction, and Camelia really seemed to like him a lot. I think it was good for her to find someone, but she did not. She thought that her and Braden, although she liked him a lot, they enjoyed each other, she thought they weren't really a match. She had told Renae that she honestly thinks she would be a better match for him, and that she was going to break up with him. It wasn't like some long-term relationship. It was a couple month long fling type of relationship. So she was just going to break up with him and introduce him to Renae, which I don't know how I would feel about that, knowing you were interested in my friend before me, but whatever. So that's what happened. They didn't meet in person right away, but Camelia did give them each other's phone numbers, and they started talking. And the two of them started texting and talking all the time. It was nice for Renae. You could see how genuinely happy she was with this new guy. It's honestly like Camelia had said, they were both perfect for one another. The two talked every day, all day. You know, puppy love. You can't get enough of each other. Renae thought Brayden was just so handsome. He was muscular, had dark hair and eyes. He had this like really nice sharp jawline. And then she found out that he had attended this elite private school in Sydney, which was just a nice bonus. So she had this hot boyfriend that attends this elite private school. He's into construction and is actually due to inherit his father's business, which was doing extremely well. I mean, he sounded like a keeper. He was driven, he had goals, he was working towards those goals and not just talking about them like some people do. I mean, this was just, how could Camelia give this guy up so easily? I don't know either, but she did, and Renae loved it. Now, 2 months into the relationship, Brayden had some devastating news. He and his buddy Richie had gotten into an accident, a motorcycle accident, and Richie ended up passing away. And because of Brayden's involvement in the crash, he was charged with manslaughter, which means that he would have to serve a few years in prison. I mean, can you imagine? You meet this handsome, amazing man, become his girlfriend, then find out he has to go to prison for a couple years. And they hadn't even met yet. But after hearing all of this and thinking it through, Renae decided she wanted to stick by him. She wanted to wait it out. She was going to be there. She was going to find a way to stay in touch. And after he was done serving his time, they could pick up where they left and be together. The only problem they had was Renae wasn't quite sure how they were going to stay in touch. Yeah, she could write letters, which I'm sure she did. But, I mean, you write a letter, you mail it there. It has to be approved by the prison. And then Brayden would have to write back, send it out. And it's a slow method, right? And when you're used to just grabbing your phone and sending a text, it can be frustrating. And she wasn't allowed to visit because he had exchanged his visitations for a shorter sentence. So she was kind of at a dead end on how she and Brayden were going to communicate the most effective way possible. Luckily, Camelia came through and came up with a plan. She's so sweet, isn't she? She told Renae that she was going to contact Brayden's lawyer and ask about getting Brayden a phone, like a burner phone. His lawyer said if she can get him one, he can get it to Brayden so that he can use it. So on November 7th, 2011, the two girls went to the electronics store, got the phone. Camelia immediately registered the SIM card, activated it, got it all set up and whatnot so that she could drop it off to the lawyer, which she did that day. The lawyer did as they said and was about to sneak this phone into the Goulburn jail in New South Wales so that Brayden could talk to his girl. And sure enough, in no time, he was texting Renae and the two were talking nonstop again. They strictly only stuck to texting each other because they were scared of Brayden getting caught by one of the guards, and then they really wouldn't be able to talk. So as the months went by and the two lovebirds kept loving one another, Renae's family noticed that she started to change some. She wasn't her loving, fun, outgoing self she had worked so hard to become that last few years. She started to become anxious and withdrawn and distant. All she wanted to do was talk to Brayden. She was constantly checking her phone, wouldn't set it down for anything. And finally, her mom was like, honey, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? You've been different lately. What's up? This is when Renae just broke down and told her mom everything. She told her mom how Brayden is in prison and she and Camelia snuck him in a phone so that they could talk, and she loves him. She is in love with this guy, and his charge is manslaughter, which was a complete accident. He isn't a bad guy. He just made a mistake, and they love each other, and it's driving her crazy, him being in there. And as a parent, this entire situation, I think you know it won't work out. But you just fib and say, oh, it'll be okay. But in this particular situation, I mean, there was a lot of red flags Teresa didn't like. She didn't like how Camelia, of all people, was the one who set Renae up with this guy. Something felt weird about that because Camelia is a snake. She didn't like how her daughter was in love with this guy who was in prison, even if it was an accident. I mean, she's sitting around spending her time waiting on this guy who may not even be worth it in the long run, when she could be out meeting all sorts of new people, some of which may be worth the long run. And she certainly didn't like the effect of all of this, that all of this was having on her daughter. But she didn't want to tell her what to do. And you don't, as a parent, you want them to weigh out the options and make their own decision. And Renae told Brayden all of this. She told him how she broke down to her mom and what her mom's concerns were. And he simply told Renae, you know it's not going to stop us. We're still going to be together. I'm standing by you. Brayden had decided that he was going to reach out to Teresa directly. He wanted her to know that he was in it for the long run and truly cared about Renae. He loved her and made a horrible mistake, but had to pay his dues and planned on spending the rest of his life with Renae as soon as he was done. This took Teresa by surprise and got her thinking, well, maybe he truly does care about Renae. Maybe he's a little bit more mature than she gave him credit for. I mean, for him to reach out directly to reassure the mother, that's a very respectable move. So that put Teresa at ease some. She still had concerns, but she accepted it for the time being. Now, spring 2012, Brayden is still in prison. He created a Facebook page and he decided to start messaging Renae's friends, being a little too friendly with them, flirting with them. As you can imagine, this absolutely caused fights between he and Renae. She would get pissed, as she should, and he would say to her, you're overreacting. You're being ridiculous. It's harmless flirting. It's really not a big deal. Then he would send her gifts and have his lawyer or Camellia deliver them to Renae, and Camellia sided with him. She'd tell Renae, you know, it's just harmless flirting. He's in prison. He's bored. He's lonely. He's stuck around guys all day, every day. He isn't going to do anything. I mean, he's in prison. It's not like he can just go to their house and sneak into their room. And then she would reassure Renae that Brayden is a great guy and she shouldn't mess it up. His sentence will be over soon and the two of them can have this amazing life together. Right now, he's just going a little stir crazy. Renae, of course, listened to Camellia. Why would Camellia ever lead her in the wrong direction? That's her best friend. She would never. Renae would always end up taking Brayden back. They would work things out, and it was just a matter of time before the next fight happened. Brayden ended up deleting his Facebook, but that didn't solve anything. In fact, Brayden grew extremely jealous over Renae at this point. Anytime anyone of the male gender was brought up, Brayden would throw a fit, pick a fight, ignore Renae, and then make it seem like it was her fault he got so mad. Like, why do you have to do that to me? Why do you have to talk about other dudes? You know I'm in prison. You know I love you, and yet you're out there and so are they. Actually, how do I know that you aren't hanging out with them behind my back? And of course, Renae loved him and she didn't want to lose him. So she made sure she didn't speak to any guys and any other friend that Brayden didn't like. And it just didn't stop there. One time, Renae thought she would set up Camellia with a coworker of hers. And when Brayden found out about this, he flipped out. I mean, this poor girl couldn't do anything right. And she would beg and plead with Brayden about coming to see him. She just wanted to explain things in person, which just put Brayden into a deeper rage. And he just always put blame on Renae for everything. And anytime she felt defeated and would complain to Camellia about it, Camellia just kept encouraging the relationship. She'd just tell her, he's a great guy. You're just going through a rough patch. He's probably stressed because he loves you so much and doesn't want to lose you. So by July 2012, Brayden surprised Renae by telling her that he was being released early. Yes, he was coming home and they could finally meet each other and be together. But unfortunately, right when Brayden got released, he was on parole and had gotten into a fight. A physical fight with his father. And because of that, he landed himself back in jail, which just devastated Renae. She fell into this deep depression and had reached her breaking point. She had consumed a large quantity of pills, and by the grace of God, it did not kill her, but it made her sick. So sick that for 3 days she was vomiting and couldn't keep anything down. She finally told her mom what had happened and what she did. Her mother immediately took her to the emergency room, and while she was there, Renae wanted to speak to a psychiatrist. She had told them everything about her and Braden's situation and how it just really had this hold over her. She also said that she didn't want to live like this. She didn't want to be in a relationship that was messing with her mind this much. It was becoming unhealthy. Did she want to be with him? Yeah, sure. But there comes a time when you have to realize that just because you want it doesn't mean that it's good for you. And that is what Renae had realized. So she took a break from Braden and shortly thereafter ended up dating her coworker, Ian. Being with Ian really gave Renae a feeling of starting over. She felt she got this new start and it was refreshing. By January 2013, the two of them were already engaged. It's not even a year of being together. It was quick, like not even 6 months, and the two were engaged. And although it should have been such an exciting time for the two of them, it seemed to be overtaken by Renae's old feelings for Braden still, that she just could not shake. Not to mention that when Braden found out about this new relationship that Renae was in, he did not like it. He would send the nastiest messages to Ian telling him how he has eyes watching the two of them and Renae belongs to him. He needed to back off. There was a time when Renae and Ian had attended this award ceremony out of town. They were staying in a hotel room, and Renae decided to take like a selfie in the hotel mirror and post it on her social media. Well, Braden had seen it, and in the background, he had seen Ian's shoe, and he flipped out on Renae. On both of them, actually. And the harassment started again. It didn't make matters any better knowing that Camelia was Team Braden and was constantly hounding Renae to go back to Braden, that Ian was no good, she shouldn't be engaged to him. Braden was the one who loves her, not Ian. And then Ian would get mad because Renae was still talking to Braden. Like, why? Why are you engaged to Ian and still talking to Braden? Like, that's just so unacceptable. I just want to be engaged to her if I was Ian. So a couple months into their engagement, it puts us at March 2013, and Ian was sick of it. He was sick of Braden and his crap and told Renae, you choose me or Braden. Who do you want to be with? And Renae chose Braden. An amount of relief that came over both Braden and Camelia was significant. They both were beside themselves with joy. On March 28th, that is Camelia's birthday, Renae had sent Camelia a message, and it read, there are 2 things that I am absolutely grateful for, and I would always be thankful and grateful for the rest of my life. And that is allowing me and Braden to start a relationship together. You don't understand, baby, how much it truly means to me. And if it wasn't because of you, I wouldn't have met the one person that means more than the world itself to me. And secondly, for always being there no matter what happens. I only want the best for you, and I hope one day you can find your everything and you are someone that will mean more than life itself and more than anyone or anything in the world. I'd kill anyone that would hurt you. Learn from your mistakes, babe, especially the last few months. But you have pushed yourself, showing how strong you truly are, and I admire you for that. I'll do anything I can to make sure that I give you what I found and make sure that the person is your everything. It's my life mission to see you happy, and my life won't be fully complete until I see the day that you have everything that you have ever dreamed of. And while that is so thoughtful of her to say to her best friend, the relationship was still toxic as ever. They were constantly fighting and ending their friendship and then making back up and being friends again. It was like this continuous cycle, and her and Braden's relationship wasn't any better. He was always jealous and accusing her of something. If she didn't text back quick enough, well, she was out with whomever. If she didn't respond sweet enough, well, She didn't love him. The never-ending cycle that everyone hates, yet it's just so hard to end. But Camelia's loyalty certainly lied with Brayden. She did not want Renae to mess this up, which if you look at it from anyone else's point of view, you have to wonder, why is she so concerned with her friend's relationship? She should be concerned with finding one of her own. But Renae had this brilliant idea. Again, I don't understand it, but she thought it would just be grand to go out with Ian and catch up. I don't support this decision, and neither did Camelia. She told Renae that she was going to ruin her relationship with Brayden by doing this, which she's absolutely right. No one should be going to catch up with their ex while they're in a relationship with someone else. But Camelia took it too far and started punching Renae, pulling her hair, yelling at her over it. Like, my God, who gets that angry over somebody else's relationship? I mean, she left bruises and red marks all over Renae, and I'm so curious if Renae even told Brayden this, how Camelia would attack her like that. There was another time where one of Renae's exes had texted her, like, a harmless text saying something along the lines of, like, oh, hey, I was just thinking of you. I hope you're doing well. And they didn't speak on a regular basis. It was like just a random text out of the blue. Camelia saw and ran and told Brayden. So you can imagine how nasty he was to Renae when he found out. He broke up with her. And then, of course, blamed it on her. Had she have not cheated on him, he wouldn't have to break up with her. She's scum. She'll never get anyone as good as Brayden. And then I'm sure she had Camelia's 2 cents chiming in too. Anytime Renae would try to be cute and send him a picture of her, just a selfie in a cute dress or maybe a little cute outfit, nothing provocative and sexy, he would shame her about it. Why would you wear that? You think you look good? That's really revealing. You know what kind of girls wear that stuff? The kind that are desperate for attention from any guy. However, Brayden didn't mind if Renae got attention. It just had to be from a girl. He was perfectly fine if Renae wanted to seek attention from a girl. Renae at one point has started sending Brayden some risque photos, some nudes. He kept telling her he needed just a little something to hold him over until he got out. So she, being the kind, obedient girlfriend she was giving him something to hold himself over. Except he didn't send any back. Not that it has to be like that, but come on, Brayden. Be fair. Be fair. And then he tells Renae one day, well, don't wait until I'm out of prison. Go have sex with Camelia. Which Renae was shocked by this and says, absolutely not. I'm not into girls like that. I'm not going to go have sex with Camelia. But Brayden insisted that if Renae needed someone to keep her satisfied until he was able to get out to do it himself, then she should hook up with Camelia. He wouldn't be mad. So despite the toxicity in Brayden and Renae's relationship, the two seemed to talk about marriage a lot and had planned to wed after Brayden was released, which was supposed to be fall of 2013, near Renae's 21st birthday. And Renae ate this up. God bless her. She reminds me of a girl I had worked with. She had the wedding planned and hadn't even been proposed to. Renae was booking the wedding photographer, trying on dresses, getting their honeymoon together. She wanted to go to Greece and had to make sure Brayden, who is a felon, was able to obtain a visa for this. I mean, like I had said, she had it all planned out. But not only that, she just really wanted to be understanding of the lifelong consequences that would follow Brayden for having felony charges. And every time she asked Brayden to put her in contact with his attorney, he would freak out on her and just get nasty and angry and text her saying how he doesn't need her help. She just needs to leave it alone. Let him handle it. It's none of her business. And Renae would feel bad about even asking. He really knew how to manipulate her and mess with her mind. But Renae really wanted Brayden to understand where she was coming from. She really wanted him to see her side. So she had sent a text to him which read, I fight for you, Brayden. Through court, through meetings, I fight for you. When they hurt you, I stayed by your side, talking to you. Every situation we've been through, I've been there. And not once have I complained, Brayden. You will never get it because you're a male. But to a girl, finding that perfect someone is everything. And I found that with you. I truly thought you were everything. And I could never let you go. I saw my future with you. And I was going to do whatever it took to give it to you. Just sit there and imagine this man that was your everything, that you would do anything for, ask you to marry him. Then on top of that, he wanted to be the father of your child, and you talked about it every day. Then you make the worst mistake of your life and F up. You always say you love me, but actions speak louder than words. Brayden, you know, sometimes I ask for simple things, and it's like you don't want me to have it, or know it's simple things. I always feel you have an excuse, though. No matter what I ask, I have nothing of you, Brayden. Seeing a car of yours wouldn't even make me feel much closer to you. But I feel like you just hide things from me. But you just can't let me in when I ask for simple things. It's not fair. And Brayden, as kind as he is, sends back a text message that says, I love you, Renae. You changed my life from day one. Now, I just want to say, I feel there are so many other ways to respond to this message to reassure her that you love her, or to maybe like explain why it is you're so hesitant to give her any information about you. But, you know, Brayden was absolutely a grade A manipulator and knew exactly what to say to get Renae right where he wanted. And bless her heart, like most of us, when we hear what we want to hear, we fall back into the state of, everything will be okay. Everything is going to be great. We love each other, right? Another thing that Brayden was absolutely persistent on was his concern for Renae and Camelia's friendship. Renae was starting to see all the red flags when it came to Camelia. She was no longer blind. God, when that feeling hits you. But she wanted to officially end their friendship. There just wasn't anything great about it anymore. And so naturally she expressed this to Brayden, and he is like, no, absolutely not. How can you want to end a friendship with someone who brought us together? How can you want to end a friendship with someone who has done so much for you? She truly cares. She is what a good friend looks like. You can't just go and end a friendship like that. You'll never find one like that again. And Renae was also very concerned with how Camelia would take it if she had ended this friendship for good. She honestly was kind of scared. She just distanced herself. She would make up excuses so that they couldn't hang out, find reasons not to talk or text as much, things like that. That summer, July 2013, Camelia was going on a month-long vacation, and Renae saw this as the perfect opportunity to end the friendship. But Brayden had his own stuff going on. You know, he had some court dates coming up, and he wanted to make sure that he stayed in good graces with the prison system and didn't get caught with a cell phone. So he told Renae that he wasn't going to be able to talk as much that entire month, like until his court dates were over. So essentially both Camelia and Brayden did not talk to Renae that much that entire month. And she just really focused on working, like keeping herself busy as much as she could. She found herself always anxiously waiting for Brayden to text. She was telling her coworker how she wanted to plan this wedding and is so excited for it. But it's hard because she doesn't know what Brayden's life holds. When is he going to be released so that they can finally get married and start a life together? Then it came. August 5th, 2013, where Renae was at work. She had received a message from Brayden. He wasn't getting released, and he was just rude and cold and harsh towards her in this message. And all of her coworkers saw this effect that this one message had on her mood. She went from happy and hopeful to just a clear indication that something was wrong. One of her coworkers thought maybe, if she takes a walk and gets a change of scenery, some fresh air, maybe it'll help. Not take away the devastation, but at least kind of see everything's still going to work out in the long run, you know? So the two of them went for lunch, and God bless Renae, halfway through her meal, she just starts shaking and crying uncontrollably. She grabs her phone, flips it open, and shows it to her coworker. The message started off with, "I think I need a break, and so do you." And although Renae and Brayden had taken breaks before, this time felt different to Renae. She felt like he was serious, and this wasn't just a, I'm saying mean things to you because I'm angry type of thing. So Renae and her coworker return to work, and Renae tells her supervisor she needs to leave. Like, she's an emotional wreck right now. Brayden isn't answering her, and she needs answers. She left work around 2:45 p.m. and decided that she was going to call the prison and see what was really going on. Later that evening, around like 5 p.m. or so, Renae's mother, Teresa, comes home from picking up Renae's younger sibling. She goes upstairs to find Renae in her bedroom, fixing her hair and makeup and getting ready, like, to put on a nice dress. Like, just kind of strange behavior for just being broken up with. And Teresa knew something was off. Now, around that same time, Brayden messages Teresa and says to her, "Sort your daughter out. She's thinking of killing herself." Teresa was highly concerned over this and went and showed it to Renae, asking her, "What is this? Why would he be saying that? Like, what's wrong?" And Renae reassured her mother, "He's just mad. He's trying to stir the pot. I'm fine. I'm not going to do that. I'm just getting ready to go out with some friends. That's all." Teresa said okay and asked Renae if she could take her youngest sibling over to their grandma's house before she had headed out with her friends. And Renae's like, "Yeah, sure." Teresa took her middle child to swim lessons, and while she was there, she received a very concerning message from Renae. The message read, "I love you so much. I'm sorry for everything and the pain I will now cause you, but I'll be okay. I'll still be here and be around when you need to talk to me. Just call my name, and I'll be there. You're the most amazing person and mother ever, and my very best friend. I wasn't happy, and I need you to understand that it's okay. Don't let this ruin everything else that you need to take care of. I need you to be strong for me." She received that text at 5:49 p.m. Imagine receiving that after the message that you had just received an hour earlier from Brayden, almost like foreseeing this, and you have a child in a pool swimming. Like, what do you do? How do you rush to your daughter to save her and help her realize that, whatever it is that she's struggling with, that she's stronger than that and she can get through it. But Teresa just tried to focus on getting swim lessons done with, picking up her other child from, grandma's house and getting back home. Teresa had called her friend and had her friend come over so that she could show her the message, like to see what her opinion on it was. And her friend said immediately after reading the message, "You need to call the police." And that's what Teresa did. Police arrived and Teresa explained the entire situation to them. How Renae is dating Brayden, who is in prison, how Brayden sent her this message earlier, how Renae then sent this concerning message an hour or so later, and now she won't pick up her phone. It goes straight to voicemail. The police started searching for Renae. Thank God they didn't wait. Then Teresa decided to text Camelia, seeing if maybe Renae was with her. So she texts Camelia saying, "Hey, have you heard from Renae?" And Camelia said, "Yeah, I heard from her a while ago around 5:47 p.m. Why, is everything okay?" Teresa told Camelia how she had gotten this really weird message from Renae at 5:49 p.m. and hasn't heard from her since and is really concerned. So Camelia says, "Yeah, I got a similar message 2 minutes earlier. Why don't you come over and we'll go drive around and we'll see if we can find her?" Teresa thought that was a great plan. So they headed over to Camelia's and the two of them drove around in Camelia's red Mazda searching for Renae. Police had called Teresa around 8:45 p.m. and said they had found Renae's car. It was parked at a place known as The Gap. This was a cliffside area that overlooked the ocean that was on the east side of Sydney. And the police didn't like this. They didn't find Renae, but they found a Valentine's Day card from Brayden, Renae's wallet, and a collage of photos of Brayden. "I love you, Brayden," was written on the car's windshield. The car ended up being towed to the police station to further investigate, but, God, could you imagine? The police call and tell you all of this stuff hours after you get a message like Teresa had received. But this at least gave them an area to start searching. So Renae's family and the police searched that area. They had discovered her shoes on a path that led up to the cliffside, They had divers in the water, helicopters searching the sky, but nothing came up until they received CCTV footage of Renae walking in the area of the gap. They showed her taking off her shoes and sitting on the edge of the cliff, sending some text messages, and then she threw her phone into the water. She then stood up and walked off. After discovering this, Teresa wanted answers. She wanted to know where her daughter was and felt like Braden knew more than what he led on to. So she texted Braden and told Braden she wanted answers. I could have just gone to the damn prison myself, but Teresa texted him and he didn't respond. He wasn't responding to anyone except Camelia. Teresa had messaged Camelia and said, "Has Braden been talking to you? Because he refuses to talk to me, and I want to know what's going on. I want to know where Renae is and if he knows anything." Camelia said to Teresa that Braden is upset because everyone is blaming him for Renae's disappearance, and it isn't entirely his fault. Then Camelia has the audacity to text Teresa and say, "Renae has always been like this. It's not Braden's fault. We can't blame one person." Apparently, they didn't fight. She said to him that no one accepts him and that they love each other. In a situation like this, we can't blame anyone. She always said she hated being home before she met Braden, and then after, she always said that she would do this for many different reasons. Renae complained about home, yes, but she promised me she would never do anything like this. And yes, she complained about being home. She wanted to move out, and she always said that Mark would abuse the kids or you, and she couldn't handle it. The truth is, it was never about one person. It didn't have anything to do with Braden. I think Renae was just an upset person, to be honest. She did something similar to this at school. She always felt like everyone was against her. Now, police tried to reach out to Braden, but they couldn't find him. He wasn't an inmate at the prison, and he wasn't a student at the high school he originally told Renae he had attended. They started to think maybe Braden didn't exist at all. When police had spoken with Stephanie, Renae's cousin, the same cousin Renae would confine in, she told them that she felt there was a strong similarity in the way that he would talk to Renae and the way Camelia would talk to Renae. She said the phrases he would use, his grammar and punctuation on his text, it was real similar to Camelia's. And Stephanie told this to Renae months ago, back when she first met Braden, but Renae refused to listen to it. She said that it was nonsense, and Camelia would not pretend to be Braden. Braden is real. But police did discover that Braden's phone was registered under Camelia's name. The police called and asked Camelia to come down to the station for some questions, and that went nowhere. And that next day, Camelia's family just so happened to have her admitted to a hospital for her mental health. They feared she was at high risk for self-harm with everything going on. And when she got there, she told the psychologist and psychiatrist all about Renae, but never once did she mention Braden. A few days later, when she was released, police obtained a search warrant for the house. They were hoping that they could find the phone that she was using to pretend to be Braden. They did not find that exact phone, but they did find some other phones. One was her personal, everyday phone. Another was an old phone of hers. And another one was one that she just used when she was traveling abroad. They found a few other interesting items too. There were tons of letters from Renae to Camelia, even some letters that Renae had written to Braden. Now you tell me why Camelia would have those. The police had asked Camelia during all of this, "Is there anything else you want to talk about? I'm happy to listen." Camelia responded, "I was sending the text messages to Renae before I left for America in March. Renae asked me to. She wanted me to pretend I was Braden." And the officer was like, "Why?" Camelia continued on to say, "I just did it because she wanted me to. I didn't do anything else though. What's going to happen to me?" After that moment, Camelia had refused any other interviews with police. And for years, Renae's family and police believed that Camelia was behind all of this, that Camelia had catfished Renae, But sadly, there's no law against catfishing. You can pretend to be anyone on the internet. It is morally wrong, yes, but people do it every day. 7 years later, in 2020, an inquest was finally set. The police were able to recover most of the messages between Braden and Renae and Camelia. Camelia was subpoenaed to testify, and of course, she hired an attorney. In February 2020, she was forced to testify, and right from the start, she admitted that Braden wasn't real. Can you imagine being her family sitting there hearing that? Oh God, that would cut deeper than the first one. She continued to say that she and Renae were in a romantic relationship, and they had to keep it secret because her parents would never accept that, which was just a crock of BS. Renae's parents made it very clear they loved their daughter and would never have said that. And Renae, she didn't act like Braden wasn't real. Her actions of sending him gifts, sending him letters that were found in Camelia's room, trying to get in contact with his attorney and even the prison, like those aren't actions you take if you know someone is made up. Not to mention the text messages between Braden and Renae. Just Braden and Renae was something like over 30,000 texts. Like that's a lot of messages. And Renae and Camelia had around the same amount, if not more. So again, if Braden is just a safety net, made up cover story, why is she texting him so much? Then Camelia went on to say that she and Renae felt this was becoming too much. Renae really liked to be in character, but it was becoming toxic and unhealthy, so they were going to stage a breakup between her and Braden. And Camelia said that she was just not expecting the outcome to be what it was. The guy that Camelia was using to really bring Braden to life was a guy by the name of Cameron Long. And Cameron was a guy that Camelia had met at a club years ago, and he said that he had no clue what was going on until all of this had hit the news. And after it came out in the news, everyone oddly still felt like Cameron was Braden. Even though they knew it was just his picture being used, he still got like dirty looks and nasty messages for it. The coroner had ruled that Renae took her life as a result of Braden breaking up with her. And because of this, she requested that the domestic violence team take a deeper look into Renae's case to see if charges could be pressed. But since this inquisition, nothing has happened. Camelia is still walking free and in fact occasionally runs into Renae's family because of how close they live to one another. Renae's family always has felt like Camelia was oddly obsessed with Renae. They felt she wanted this romantic relationship with Renae, and that wasn't Renae's preference, one, but Camelia didn't care. So she created Braden so that she could have somewhat of a romantic relationship with her. Renae's family is also trying to get a new law passed in regards to catfishing because catfishing is wrong. Like messing with people's emotions, leading them on, period, is wrong in my opinion, but to that extent, making someone believe you are someone you aren't and they fall in love with you, like that's messed up. And yet people do it every day and it's not illegal. So that's why Renae's family is working extra hard so that when people take it to these extremes, there are consequences. They had created this petition and have close to 18,000 signatures, probably more now, but unfortunately, this won't be the last time that catfishing ends tragically. I hope for someone's sake it prevents it though, but that is all I have for today. You'll have to let me know what you guys think. And until next time, please remember to be safe, and I will see you then. Bye!